6 years ago, I decided to go to Yale for my MBA program, and I ended up taking student loans from Quorum Federal Credit Union. I took loans of about $100,000. But before I chose Quorum, I applied to the other options that I had available to me at the time and went through the whole application process and made the decision to go with Quorum. So in today's video, I'll show you what those options were, what I got from them, how I made that decision, and at the end of the video, I want to hear from you. Would you have made the same decision that I made at the time? All right, let's get into the video. All right, let's start with Prodigy Finance. So I applied to Prodigy Finance first, and a few weeks, I believe, I don't really remember now, but a few weeks after I submitted my application, I got this email from them saying, congratulations, your loan has been approved. So you can see the date, it was May 2018. And what I want to highlight here are the steps that they shared with me as the steps to go through if I wanted to go with them. So congratulations again. And so if you look at this first step, it's that they would, now that they've approved my loan, they will reach out to my school. They will essentially tell the school, hey, we approved this person's loan. The school needs to do some sort of certification. I think it's just a simple, straightforward process. But essentially, they will send my loan details to my school, and the school has to accept the terms. So that's what I always try to explain, that there's a lot of, like, even though you're the one applying, the school is also super involved in the process. So they will send these terms to the school. The school may take 3 to 6 weeks. And then if they want to make any changes or suggestions to Prodigy, they'll do that. And then if, they're essentially saying if you have questions, you can reach out to your school. And then the next step is you, as the person applying for this loan or taking the loans, you will sign the final agreement. But I think what they've not mentioned here is, yes, you sign the agreement, but for some loan provider, they will also come to meet you when you get to the school for you to sign that same agreement or something similar physically. That's what Quorum did, and we'll talk about Quorum's process. I'll show you everything in a couple of minutes. So they'll send the funds to the school, and then if they sent more than what the school needs, the school will reimburse your own account. The school will credit your account. Essentially, if what you needed for that semester, say it's $10,000, but your loan is about $15,000, the school will take their $10,000 after they send the $15K to the school and reimburse you the balance $5K, which you can use for your living expenses or anything you want to do with it. So I think the major thing here is this process is similar to what I've been sharing on the channel, which is that the loan provider almost never sends you the cash. They send it to your school, and then your school takes what they want for your tuition and fees, and the school sends you the balance. So let me show you the next document. All right, so after they sent me that email that I just showed you, I think a week after, they sent me this other one saying certified. This is essentially, they said after my loan had been approved, then they will send it to the school for the school to certify. After they've reached out to the school and the school had certified my loan, they sent me another email saying, congrats, your loan has been certified by your school for the full amount. And so what I need to do now, or what I needed to do, was to sign the final loan agreement, and then they will disburse to the school, and then the school credit my account with any balance. Now, one thing I want to call out here is someone asked me a question in a recent video. I addressed it in my last loan FAQ video, or the one I'll post after this. I don't know the order, but the person was asking, can I take loans, apply for a loan, and after it's approved, can I say I no longer need the loans? And I said yes. And that's because even after they've approved, at this point, after the school has certified, you can still say no, maybe you won't sign the loan agreement. But even after signing the loan agreement, you can still say no, you no longer need this amount. But of course, at that point, there may be fees, there may be other things to consider. But at different points, you can essentially say, well, I thought I needed these loans, but I no longer need it. But at this point, if you just don't sign this final offer, you're not liable for anything. Everything is good. All right, now that we've talked about Prodigy Finance, let's talk about Quorum Federal Credit Union. So similar to Prodigy Finance, I also applied to Quorum Federal Credit Union, and maybe you can see it's around the same time. This is May 19. The other one was also in May, maybe May 17, I don't know. But after I applied, I would assume again, it's a couple of weeks after I got this important notice regarding your recent loan application. Now, Quorum is quite different from Prodigy in terms of how they work, and so I want you to pay attention to this. Also, spoiler alert, I ended up choosing Quorum over Prodigy. I don't remember the details of how I made the decision, but we'll look at all the terms together today, and I would like to hear what you think about the decision that I made. So essentially, Quorum sent me this email saying congratulations. Shortly you will receive an additional email which will include your approval letter from Quorum. Please allow up to 3 days for you to get this. Okay, so they were just essentially telling me my loan had been approved and I will get like an approval letter in a couple of days. Now, what I want to call out about Quorum is Quorum does something called a line of credit. Unlike Prodigy, where your loan is your loan, Quorum approves a line of credit and then you can draw from that line. Essentially, Quorum, and you will see, I'll show you some of those numbers shortly. Quorum says we've approved a 150k line of credit for you. You can draw these amounts as you need them anytime you need the amounts. So it's not like you have a 100k loan, and we are disbursing the 100k loan. It's that you have this 100k approved, but you can decide to borrow less than that 100k, but you cannot borrow more than that 100k. All right, so this is another document. It's a long document, 14 pages, but I just wanted to highlight page 5 to show you some of the things I've shared about student loans on this channel. So this is a very good, clear summary of how the process for Quorum works, which is very similar to the process for Prodigy. So here you see you apply for the loan online, or the line, or they call it a line of credit. Just, they are all loans, but if you want to learn more about all of that, we can share. So you apply. So this is the first step, the application process. This is the second step, the Quorum approves the application. Now they do like a loan entrance session, which is this session I was talking about, that they come to your school, they tell you more about the loans, you can raise your hands to ask questions, things like that, and then they process your loan documents, and then Quorum sends initial draw request to the school. So essentially, Quorum will tell the school they want to send this amount for doing, to cover this. See, the explanation is here. Essentially, loan funds will be applied directly to your bill by the school once received. After, you may receive excess funds as a loan refund for living expenses, which is the point I was explaining. The same process for Prodigy as well. And then US is the service. Just think about this as Quorum for now to simplify things. That's kind of like their loan servicing. US services loan after first draw, and at any point you can contact their loan servicer. That's just the process that Quorum followed, and that's the same process, almost like 100%, let's say 99% similar to what Prodigy does as well. All right, so we have gotten to the big stuff. So this is my loan agreement from Quorum, and I highlighted some things to share with you, like what my interest rate was, what the loan amount was, the grace period, everything that I've been talking about on this channel about loans. I want to use a real example today to show you everything. So this is the loan agreement I got from Quorum, and so let's look at it. We are pleased to inform you you have this loan, attending Yale for, this was my first academic year. You are approved to borrow up to $155,000. So essentially, like I said, if you're an OG on this channel, like if you've been on this channel for more than 2 years or so, I took $100,000 in student loans that I repaid. But my real line of credit from Quorum was $155,000. What does that mean? It means they've set aside $155,000 for me, and I can decide how much of that 155 I wanted to borrow. I ended up borrowing 100k, like withdrawing 100k, but I could have withdrawn up to $155,000. So this total amount is for your study, and then you will certify the loan amount requested and all of that. Now, these are the terms you need to pay attention to. The line of credit offering one-time application with simple second-year draw request. This is just saying I don't need to go through the application process for my second year. After my first year, I just need to let them know I need more money for my second year. Now, this was the interest rates. Okay, for those of you that want to know what my interest rate was at the time, this was 6 years ago. It feels like the world has changed a lot since then. This was 2 years pre-pandemic. The rate was variable of 3.5%, variable interest rate, which is 3.5% plus prime rate At the time, the prime rate was 4.5%, so that adds up to 8%. So my interest at the time was about 8%. It could change a bit based on what was happening with the prime rate. Here, prime rate, you can just Google it, general rates, they don't set that, but what they said was this 3.5. They said 3.5% plus the prime rate. So I ended up being at 8%, 8 point something percent, depending on the time. What I've also explained on this channel is this concept of fixed interest and variable interest. Mine, a portion was fixed, a portion was variable. My recollection was this was one of the reasons I went with Quorum and not Prodigy. I couldn't find my Prodigy loan agreement because the link broke and I don't think I downloaded it. But my Quorum was 3% fixed and then prime rate. I think all of Prodigy at the time was 100% like variable, and I just didn't think that was right for me. I'm not sure anymore what they offered me, but it was 3.5 plus prime rate, and at that time it was always around 8%, less than 9%, sometimes higher than 8%, but yeah, less than 9%. And if you have a qualified US cosigner, we always talked about cosigners on this channel. If you have a qualified US cosigner, you will receive a 0.5% rate reduction. So instead of me doing 8% here I could have done 7.5% if I just had a good Samaritan to be my cosigner. And then there was a 1% draw fee for Quorum. This may be the tiny difference between Quorum and Prodigy. For Quorum, remember, it's a line of credit, and anytime I draw or withdraw I will get a 1% fee, or I will have to pay a 1% fee. So 1%, if I were withdrawing $10,000 for this semester, I'll pay an additional 1%. So like I always say, loans aren't free. Okay, that money is not free. Interest rates and fees, crazy. And so they were also saying they're giving me a 6-month grace period after graduation. What this meant for me was I don't need to start repaying my loans until 6 months after I graduate from this school. And then mine was a 25-year repayment period, which is crazy for now that I'm thinking about it, because the highest I've seen these days is probably 10 years repayment for international students. But let me know what you're seeing if you've applied recently. And also, if you took loans recently, please could you email me with an example or with your loan agreement? I would love to either do a video with you or just share a more recent example with folks. And then you know, this is something I've also talked about on this channel, that if you set up recurring payments with a US bank account after graduation, if you set up that they should just take this from your bank account every month automatically, you get another 0.25%. So these are the key terms that I wanted to mention here. And another one is, after you arrive, there will be a required meeting on your school campus, which I've talked about already in this video. So these were my terms for the loan I got from Prodigy Finance. What do you think about these terms? We have talked about Prodigy Finance, we've talked about Quorum Federal Credit Union. Now let's talk about Mpower financing. For Mpower, I don't think my program was part of their priority list. I don't remember, but for some reason Mpower wasn't one of the options I applied to. I still do not remember why, but this is one from one of my kind community members here on YouTube that sent me this maybe 2 years ago. This is a 2022 loan, and let's look at it. The person only sent me this notification, and so I don't have the real loan agreement with all the terms, but this is still good to know. So the person was getting a $50,000 loan. Now, what I want to highlight with this example is, for me, for the examples I've shown you so far with Prodigy and with Quorum, they approved the full amount I asked for. Sometimes the loan provider comes back and says, hey, you wanted 100K, but given everything you've shared with us and everything on your application, we think it's too risky for us. We can only offer you $50,000. Sometimes they can approve a partial amount. For me, I was approved for the full amount. I just wanted to use this as an example to show you that you could also be approved for an amount lower than what you had requested. We are pleased to inform you that you have been approved for an Mpower financing student loan in the amount of $50,000. However, this loan is not the amount you requested, but rather a partial amount that we can approve based on information provided in your current application and your credit report. You are welcome to reapply again at least 90 days after your receipt of this letter, should your financial and professional situation improve. One thing I want to call out here is that as an international student without a cosigner, the loan provider, all they have about you is that information you provided, and that information typically
includes your professional experience, your background, how much you have in savings to fund your education, things like that. If you are, and I'm going to just give you an example here, because a lot of people ask me, my loan was denied, what do I do? I wasn't approved. The thing is, for instance, if you're someone requesting $100,000, but you only have 1 year of professional experience, you're riskier than another person that has 5 years of professional experience working in a lucrative industry that's asking for the same amount. You get what I'm saying? So that's what they are referencing here. You're welcome to reapply should your financial and professional situation change. So what they're saying here is, if for some reason you just randomly recently got a new job where you earn 5x what you were earning 2 months ago when you submitted this application, then let us know. We will reassess things, because that changes your risk profile. So your total current and projected debt level exceeds Mpower's risk limit. So it's all about that risk. These people are in the risk business. They're just trying to hedge their risk. So the more you can help them know that you are less risky, the better for you, the higher the amount you will get approved by them.
Now that you know the terms that I got from Quorum Federal Credit Union and the options I had available to me, would you have made the same decision I made 6 years ago? Let me know in the comments. But if you also want to learn about my journey to repaying back those loans, I did a video a couple of years ago about how I repaid $100,000 in student loans. You may be able to learn something from that, so I'll put that video in the description. Don't forget, if you are in any way considering Prodigy Finance, which is the biggest option you have as an international student without a co-signer, there's always a link in the description, and that link will take you straight to the application page, so don't forget to check that out. But for now, let me know if you make the same decision I made 6 years ago if you had those exact terms. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.